in commercial terms, what I remember very well is I had a cousin who was in the trade area, and my cousin said, we don't want to have a European common market. Some of the European countries have low tariffs, and we can export to them, let's say the UK and the Dutch. And the others have high tariffs, the French and the Italians, and we really don't want to have a unified Europe, because what will happen, and indeed what did happen in many areas, is that when the Europeans formed a unified tariff regime for agriculture, there was the common agricultural policy and there was a common external tariff around all of Europe. Some of those tariffs were higher than tariffs in countries like Holland and the UK. So we were facing certain domestic risks. Some of my friends here have heard the story about the chicken war. Have any of you know about the chicken war? Well, I'll tell you, we were selling 60-pound bags of chickens, backs and necks, it was called. People called it the backs and necks problem. We were selling 60-pound bags of backs and necks in Germany to make into sausage and soup. And the Europeans, the common market had sort of taken hold, and the Europeans were putting a common tariff on all chicken. And it was going to be, I think, something like 20 cents a pound, and these backs and necks were selling for 12 cents a pound. So it was a prohibitive tariff. And there was a lot of protests, especially from Arkansas, because Senator Fulbright, who was an important political figure at the time, represented Arkansas. And there was this backs and necks problem. And what were we going to do about this? So on a Friday afternoon in the summer of 1963, a telegram came from the State Department saying it's really urgent, everybody should go in and talk to the people who are going to the Common Market meeting in Brussels on Monday, and everybody should tell them our position on backs and necks. It's a Friday afternoon in the summer in Europe. People don't work late on Friday afternoons in Europe in the summer. Maybe they do now, but they sure didn't then. And so the telegram went out saying, talk to your counterpart about backs and necks. And a cable came back very quickly from Rome saying, we've talked to the minister about backs and necks, but he's much more interested in breasts and thighs. So there's a serious, there's something serious under this, and that is that there were a lot of interests, American interests and European interests, that were not in favor of a European common external tariff or a common agricultural policy. But politically, the Americans, and I think this is really important to remember, Americans pushed very hard for this. This was, in my view, I read these articles now that don't mention our view, our position at the time. But I think they really miss how important our role is or was in constructing this Europe